Right. Hello, everyone. We're live streaming from Gamification Europe. And today I am delighted to have Michiel van Eunen with me to talk about himself, but mostly about the masterclass he's going to be running at Gamification Europe, a masterclass in escape room design. I can see already we've got a couple of people watching. Hi, Ali Reza. I can see you said hello. And just to prove that to the world. Here he is. So, if anyone has any questions for Michiel during this, please add them to the chat, and I will try and keep an eye on those. And we'll be good. I've got a random LinkedIn user saying hello, so I don't know who that is as well. Okay, we will get started. And I'm going to ask you, Michiel.
Yes.
How long have you been making games?
Professionally or at all?
You can answer both. That's good with me.
So last summer we celebrated my company's 20th anniversary. So Living Story, my company, has been about for 20 years. So we've been professionally making games for 20 years.
20 years. That's good. And where are you based? Let's let everyone know.
Okay. Actually, in this wonderful location where I am right now, which is about 30 minutes east of Amsterdam, Netherlands.
Okay. And am I right in thinking, I do lose track of this, you've got an escape room there or a different location?
We had a few escape rooms in another locations here in the city. They are closed since a few months, since actually a big flood. The escape rooms were below ground. There was a secret part of it. You started in the greenhouse and you had to go down, but the whole basement was flooded, and in such a way that we had to give up on those escape rooms.
Wow. Was there an escape room happening live? Did it feel like a real one during the flood?
Because of the flooding, you mean? Yeah. It wasn't bad. We had a lot of rain this last winter.
I guess actually that leads me to one of my core questions. For organizations.
So I'm sorry, I don't know if the other streamers or people listening also had that, but we lost you a bit. I lost a bit of you in your connection, so I didn't get the question.
I will ask again. So I'm going to ask you about what escape rooms have you designed for the public? And also, what's the difference? Our follow-on question will be, what's the difference between escape rooms for public use and for organizational use? Because obviously, I feel like you're an expert in both.
Yeah. So I think that over the last 4 or 5 years, we did about 30 escape rooms, 30 escape room formats, which I think about 5 or 6 are commercial escape rooms, so real life escape rooms. And actually looking forward to the session that I will do at Gamification Europe, we'll dive a bit into this as well. Because you will make a bit of different decisions when you make a commercial escape room, or if you'll make an escape room for learning or for an assessment, for instance. So the big difference is that in the very first steps, you'll start out with what do I want to achieve with this escape room, and from there you can design everything. So, for instance, the level of success, the success rate of an escape room, to me, is just a design criterion. So if I make an escape room for learning, I might want to make an escape room where 100% of the teams succeed. In an assessment, that might be a very low number. I only want 40 or 50% of the teams going into an escape room to succeed. I want to design frustration. And with a commercial escape room, that would be somewhere in between. It shouldn't be too hard. It shouldn't be too difficult. It can be that 70 or 80% of the people that play the escape room will solve it or will leave the escape room within an hour. Which is interesting that even the success rate is just a design principle. It's something that you can design from. So it's one of the biggest differences between a commercial escape room and an escape room that you would use for learning, for instance.
Yeah, that's fascinating. I like that. So, can you tell me a bit about those 5 or 6 escape rooms you've designed for the public use, like with particular themes, and the locations for them?
Ooh. Well, if you'll check out my site, you'll see that we've done escape rooms in exotic locations. So, for instance, the Elixir escape room was made in a botanical greenhouse, a 100-year-old botanical greenhouse, very nearby, a famous location. And it was the most transparent escape room in the world because we built it inside a greenhouse, where most escape rooms that you enter will be dark. Nobody can see you. These were actually two greenhouses, so you could enter with 2 teams at the same time. Even if you were with a big group, or with colleagues, you could split up. You would both do an escape room, and you would both be in a greenhouse. You could either even watch the other team, and it would go from there.
So, quick check. So you could potentially pick up clues by watching what the other team were doing.
Yeah, but also the same way around. Like, and that's what I always would tell them. This is the most transparent escape room in the world. I'd also give them the secret tip, so you can watch the other team, but at the same time, people could watch your team, which is amazing because there was, I think, 3 or 4 foot between the escape rooms, a meter, so you could really see the other team doing stuff, but you really had to look very well. And one of the great things in this escape room was there was a hatch in the floor, and once you opened it, you could go down into the basement that I mentioned before.
Yeah.
And if you start the escape room, you don't even know that it's there. So sometimes one team was still struggling to work on the hatch, on the lock, and the other team was suddenly disappeared. Great moment.
I like that. So that's one, the Elixir escape room. Let's have one more. What other fun one have you worked on?
I did one in what do you call a sort of underwater laboratory. It was done on Curaçao, one of the islands.
Mm-hmm.
We worked together with a marine biologist who wanted to create an escape room that was about the marine life and of the decay of the coral. So you would actually go inside and find yourself with your team in an underwater laboratory, and you'll have to solve all sorts of stuff there. But the surrounding was, of course, amazing because it was underwater.
I mean, that's fantastic. And that sounds like a crossover between public facing and a serious game with a serious reason behind it.
Yeah, totally true. So the main reason that it was made is because of the location. It has a lot of visitors, so it's still a tourist attraction. It's actually a location where the cruise ships stop at that location. And it's the first thing they hit. It's a big mall, and the escape room was there. So it can still be fun, but also as a byproduct, people learn about the coral and what's their influence. So it can be both, of course.
Okay, so that's really interesting.
It doesn't make difference at all. Sorry.
Sorry. I was just going to say that I think that's a really good segue into what uses have organizations found for escape rooms? What have you ended up working on? Is it to get concepts across? Is it for teamwork? What are the main things or the interesting things you're finding it's used for?
It can be for a gazillion things. So it can be about learning specific content. Now we place that content inside of an escape room, and the other half is it's more about soft skills. And as I mentioned before, doing assessment, for instance. So looking at the behavior, you learn more about a group of people or an individual by an hour of play than in a year of conversation. It's a famous quote. So just observing a team of people play an escape room, that's amazing. You can learn so much about their behavior, about their how they work together as a team. about the communication skills, about how decisions are made, and also patterns that are blocking your team from progressing. And as in any great game, what we like to do is just have people play the escape room, have a lot of fun, without knowing that it's a serious game or a training. Just have fun and focus on the escape room. Then we will see natural behavior after the escape room, whether they got out within an hour or not, preferably the latter. Then we'll do a reflection, and then they will blow off steam, and then I just let people tell, so what happened? And then, of course, whatever happened in the escape room, the behaviors, the patterns are the same that the behaviors in real life, the same things that happen in their team. And that's a great way. And as with any form of game-based learning where I use this specific combination of playing a seemingly unrelated game and then go into a reflection, it's awesome because one, we see pure behavior, and two, we create a safe space to reflect upon, because in the dialogue, in the reflection afterwards, we talk about your behavior in that game. I can see, I can say, Pete, in the last hour, when you were in the corner of the escape room, you were just shouting, and you had this thing in your hand, and you were shouting and giving out orders, and nobody would listen. And then you can also refer on our behavior, on what you saw.
Yeah.
And it creates a safe space to talk about just that behavior and that specific game.
That's interesting. So like one major outcome of the work you do with escape rooms and organizations is watching the teams work and then feeding back and reflecting on that as a I like the safe space analogy. That's good.
Yeah.
Are they, because it's corporates or organizations, are they often themed around something? Like, have they got like a particular mission or vision they want to get across as well as part of it?
Sometimes they do, but still I would never use that explicitly in the game. So that's not a thing that I will really get into when you come over and do the escape room session at Gamification Europe. As with almost any serious game that I design, I want the reality of the game to be as far off as the reality, the working reality of the people playing the game. That doesn't mean that I can put in all kinds of things that are super relevant for that organization. So we do quite a few escape rooms, for instance, that are about corporate values or about the vision of a company, or behavioral values. And that's amazing because we can build an escape room with any theme, whether it be a zombie theme or a James Bond theme or a Wild West theme, and still build the same values and frustrations and trouble around those values into the game. So people will play a game about, in the Wild West, for instance, they will really get into that. They will get frustrated, things will not work out. Afterwards, we will have a conversation addressing specifically those points. And then again, it's a great way to talk about it, and especially with corporate values that can be utterly vague, or can mean a lot of things to a lot of different people, and by that are meaningless. So to create tools and really clear behavior that we can connect or discuss about, that's a really great catch when watching their team behavior.
That's very cool. Yeah. Out of interest, like any anecdotal things people have said at the end of these experiences that show like what the impact has been on them?
Without bragging, no.
You can have a little bit of bragging.
No. People are pattern-seeking creatures, and there will be a lot of value in games. If you have a well-designed game, serious game, or an escape room, what I do because it's a great format and it's really compressed into 1 hour. A lot of times when people have played an escape room, impactful escape room, and afterwards I let them blow off steam, I only ask them this question. Now, first, I'll do this. Ask them the question, have you ever played this specific game before? Let's say it's an escape room about the Wild West. Have you ever played this game before? No, of course. No, we've never played this game before. Then I'll ask them, so it's not just a game. There's a reason that we made this game. So what was this game really about? I'll ask them and I'll get a lot of answers. I'll get my flip over and I usually get like 3 sheets of what was this escape room about. Well, it was about communication. It was about leadership. It was They can come up with a lot of things, and especially and there's mostly all true, right? Three sheets, and then I'll ask them. I say, okay, all good, but what was this escape room really about? I'll just ask them to think a bit further. What was and it just focuses them on, okay, what have we really seen? What have we really addressed? What behaviors did we really see? And then I'll get another flip over sheet with the real good answers. And most of the times, those are exactly the same things that I have put in to actually discuss. And of course, that's built in. And it's great because they cannot deny it. They've actually witnessed it. They told me that was what the escape room was about. And then we'll just unpack that. So, okay, it was about status differences. It was about communication. Okay, let's dive into communication then. I saw Pete in the corner of the escape room, was completely silent, actually with the key to the next room. He was denied by everyone. Right.
Okay, that's amazing. I like that level of feedback and how they got there. Another reason why we asked you particularly to come and deliver an escape room design masterclass is also this question: like, how do you scale escape rooms? Because like when you're working with an organization, they don't just have a team of 8 or 10. They've got maybe hundreds of people to go through. And I know for us, obviously, you've done some pretty large scale escape rooms, even like taking over a whole prison for us last year at the last conference.
Yeah.
But what's the secret? How do you go about scaling an escape room? Do you just run it a lot of times, or are there other ways you can approach it?
It's different because one of the first things you do is look at your design criteria, and the number of people playing the escape room is one of the design criteria. So if you say I want to let my escape room play by 100 people, then you can design, okay, I do 20 escape rooms at the same time. I run 20 escape rooms parallel, because within a normal narrow definition of an escape room, it will be a room you escape from with a small team of about 5 people. But as I will also mention in the escape room gamification session at Gamification Europe, is you can design anything that is related to, it doesn't need to be a room, and it doesn't need to be that you escape, but using the exact DNA in the same design principles, you get an escape game that you can blow up to play with 50 or even 100 people at the same time. The game is basically the same. The only thing that I really love to do in those situations is I'd like to work with teams of people. For instance, I have 100 people. Mm-hmm. I design one game if the location permits, like doing an escape room in an old abandoned prison like we did last year. And then we will make teams. And you play against the other teams, but you share the space. And that's I think that's the main difference.
Yeah, I see. It gives you an extra dimension to work with as well.
A lot of things in escape room is about distribution of information. And that's very interesting to see, to find something before the other teams, to know something that they do not know. But also the other way around, if you see other teams who are sneaking to a specific location, that's a clue for you to also look in that location. And as soon as you know that, you can also play decoys. You can trick other teams into going to it. It's another level of team complexity that makes it awesome to work with. You can bribe other teams. There's a lot of extra stuff you can play with. But distribution of information, which is essential in an escape room, is something that you can absolutely play with large scale teams.
This is fantastic. I could chat about this stuff with you for hours. And so it's a hard choice for me is going to be choosing which of our 3 masterclasses that are running at the same time to attend. So let's
Yes.
ask you a little bit about the masterclass. Like, what are the aims of it, and what will taking part be like?
Okay. I think if you're doing the masterclass escape room design, at the end of the day, you will have designed an escape room and you will have played an escape room. Um, there are actually about 4 parts in the day. If time permits, I would like to start with playing an escape game made by my team. Then I'll do a lecture, which is actually my design masterclass of a day compressed into 1 hour, where you learn everything that we did in the last 20 years, every design principle, the way we design escape rooms and why, and all the mistakes we made, and so you don't have to. We do that, and by then I hope you're really bubbling to go to design one yourself. And then we'll go in teams of about 4 or 5 people, and with your team for the next 2 or 3 hours, about 3 hours, you will design another escape room, and so will the other teams. And then halfway in the afternoon, you get to play each other escape rooms. And that's basically it. And it's just as exciting to watch other teams play your escape room as it is to design an escape room.
And you'll get a lot of learnings just from watching other people play your escape room and from playing theirs. You're getting a very intense peer learning process going on as well.
Absolutely. It blows my mind how people can inspire each other and what they can produce in the time of 3 hours. And it's also great to see the struggle and the frustration, because you're gonna watch other people play your game. And already an advanced tip for anyone who's watching right now and is going to attend the escape room: you're going to design an escape room that's way too hard for the other teams. It's like almost you have to make it more simple, simplify. But it's great, and we have enough people, then you get to see a number of different escape rooms, and especially from watching that, you can learn so much. It gives enough to talk about for another 2 or 3 days for the rest of the conference.
Fantastic. So they'll be buzzing after it. I guess my final question about that is, like, who would it best suit to attend? Yeah, is it learning experienced designers? Who else?
It's not up to me to limit that, and we're running this session, the masterclass, a 1-day masterclass, also here in the Netherlands. We've seen people from that could be in HR, it could be learning designers, it could be teachers, but basically anyone who has an interest in using an escape room or an escape game, whatever the format, whether it's commercial, whether it's for learning, whether it's for assessment, whether it's for a museum. To come over, learn what it's about, learn what you can and cannot do. Or even if you're just interested and want to learn more, maybe you're just an escape room enthusiast and are playing with the idea to maybe use this in real life.
I like that. So in essence, don't limit yourself. If you think you're interested, you'll probably gain something excellent from it.
Yes. You don't need anything. Even if you're blank, you don't know what an escape room is, then it's still an awesome session, I guess.
Okay, my final question is not about the escape room masterclass itself. It's that, as someone who has been to Gamification Europe conferences before, what would you say to someone who's thinking of attending Gamification Europe this year in London?
Well, first of all, be there. It's amazing. Besides all the great content and the sessions, which I know are going to be high quality. Apart from my session, I can only talk about, but I know the other sessions will be great. It's that you'll get to connect with peers. You know, people like Pete and I also started like 10 years ago, or maybe a bit longer even. But getting to know people, like-minded people who share your passion, who share your interest, and do partly the same things, or maybe do something completely different, and learn about what moves them, and to be able to talk about how do you apply gamification, where do you apply game-based learning, and in what way, and what you come across. it's great to have a network, because the conference is just one, it's two days, but the network, it's something that you keep. So connection that you make there are there, for the keep forever. I think a great example is the session by Bernardo and
Roman.
Yeah, and Roman. They're I think both in the network for the last 10 years. Both of them completely different things, but now they find each other and are still working together. So you're going to become part of this group of like-minded people who all share an interest and do maybe completely different things, but and you get to chat with them and share your passion and learn an awesome deal about them. I think that's
brilliant.
Yeah, I think that's a big value, right?
It is, and just hearing that reminds me how much I'll enjoy being there myself and reconnecting and connecting with new people.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for your time today, Michiel. It has been a really insightful interview, in my opinion, and it's going to be tough to choose which workshop to go to for me. So, and
Yeah.
Anyway, I'll see you in London.
choose.
I'll see you in London. Thank you very much, and hopefully we'll